Aloha, it's CreativeNameToStandOut again with another battle report. This will be the first battle report with the new Dark Elf army book, so it's pretty exciting. I kept my army generally the same. I just want to get a good sense of the new rules. I did make some minor changes. You might notice, you might not. We got a game in against a 2,500 point Ogre list, and it's a pretty tough Ogre list. It's not the toughest you probably can imagine, but it was tough enough. And here's my magic. I kept my little 4 metal, and then I tried the dark magic. I rolled a 5 and a 6, traded them in for the signature spells because I wanted to try those out most of all. And then we rolled up mission, and it was Battle for the Pass, I think. If that's the long ways, I forget sometimes. And so here we go. Let's go into deployment. Starting from his left, we have the lead belchers, then a scrap launcher. Then we got a huge ogre Death Star with his characters are all in there. And then next to that, we have a fairly large unit of Noblars, and then finally 5 Mournfang Cavalry. Starting from my right flank, we have my Dark Riders, then the new Dark Shards, 10 of them, a smaller unit of Executioners than you probably are used to. It's about 3/5 of the size, it's exactly 3/5 of the size. Forming my center are the Witches and the Cauldron of Blood, now a Chariot. Behind that I have my BSB and a little Executioner bunker, and then behind that I have my General Sorceress with her Spearmen. And then protecting my right flank is my level 2 with her large unit of Spearmen. And then for Scouts, I brought some Shades. I put them in the way back behind the Mournfang, and then I went ahead and moved up my Vanguard. We rolled to see who got first turn, and my opponent got it. So here we go into the first turn. So obviously no charges. He moves up. He doesn't want to march because if he marches, I'll theoretically be able to charge him, and he doesn't want that. So here's a picture of his center as it's moving up. And then with his Mournfang, they're a little bit more aggressive. He's just going to ignore my fast cap, let him get around him. He's not very concerned about them. His magic phase is meh. And then going into the shooting phase, his lead belchers shoot and kill a couple witches, and the scrap launcher targets the same unit, hits dead on, doesn't do much damage. I think I lost maybe a witch, but you can see that something is missing, and it's pretty important. And that's my witch hag. He killing blowed my witch hag, so that figures. New rules, want to try it out, and rolls a 6 to wound. Messed it, didn't get my 5+ immortal, and that's it. So this is the end of turn. Looks like this, and now we'll go into my turn 1. So we go into my turn 1, and I move my Shades up, and I move my Dark Riders around the Mournfang. My plan when I did set up was just to target the Mournfang. The lead belchers were on the other side, so they were going to demolish any of my skirmishers. So I figured I could pick off some wounds with a Mournfang. They're only 3+ armor, and I have armor-piercing shots. Otherwise, the rest of my army is not entirely excited about moving forward. And plus I got a nice little river between me and the Mournfang, so I figured I'll let them charge me rather than get too aggressive. As far as the other side's concerned, I got my Spearmen, who I just move up a tad bit to be in range for all of her spells, and my Witches move up a little, and my Executioners move over in case he wants to march up into my face, or if he charges and we both end up sticking. I just want to get a flank charge in. So we go into the magic phase, and I'll go into this at the end of the video, but the magic phase is noticeably different from my first game, at least. I've noticed that a lot of it's changed. My opponent's able to stop my spells, really, but I do get off transmutation of lead here. That'll be helpful. And so, with that, I shoot my crossbows at them. Then I target them with my Dark Riders. And then finally, I shoot them with my Shades. And at the end of all that, with the minuses to their armor, I kill one, and I think I transfer a wound or 2 over to the other Mournfang. Going to his turn now. He starts off with a charge against my Executioners. He could charge my crossbow elves, but I would have fled, and so I guess he wanted to avoid a failed redirect. So he just went ahead and charged my Executioners. We've done this twice before, and both times I came out on top of this with the Executioners. But this time, my unit is smaller, and his Mournfang are relatively intact still. So here he is, making the charge. So as long as he doesn't get a bunch of impact hits, I'll be okay. Here, the units just move up a little bit. He doesn't want to get robbed of impact hits, so he doesn't move too far forward. He wants to just inches away and then charge on me. Snowballers try to dissuade my Dark Riders and Shades from moving to redirect the Death Star. It's a little too late though. And then the magic phase, I stop everything but Chain Lightning. He gets that off irresistible, kills one of his ogres and does a wound to his tyrant. And yeah, so he kills a witch, then kills 5 executioners, I think. This is just a really good spell. I have the Ring of Hotek, and he's been able to avoid it the whole time. Even if he would have rolled double ones, he probably wouldn't have been within 6 inches. Chain Lightning can get around that. The Comet can, because the Comet doesn't target a unit. So I might not take the ring anymore. I was trying it out, and it's just too many ways around it. And then, yeah, here's some Spearmen that also died from Chain Lightning. Yeah, and he also even hit this unit. He killed 3 of them. Hit them all. This thing misfired, thankfully, so it's not going to shoot next turn. Yeah, and this is what happened after combat. So, yeah, he rolled a 1 on the impact hits, and so killed a couple. And then his Worn Fang could strike at initiative 5 because of the river, but he was -1 to his weapon skill, and he needed 5s to hit, and he didn't. And then I just killed a bunch of Worn Fang. Of course, he broke, but I couldn't catch him, and that ended my turn. So this is what the board looks like at the end of the turn. And I gotta say, I was pretty happy about where I was, but now I have to deal with this Death Star, and it's a little too close now. Alright, so I'm in a pretty tough position. Since the beginning, he's done a really good job with his Lead Belchers. They've scared away my Dark Riders and my Shades from getting to a better position to redirect the Death Star later on. So now, when we combine that with my Witches, who have been whittled down with shooting and magic, they're pretty much not going to be able to inflict a ton of damage on the Ogres like I was hoping. I was hoping to kind of use them as kind of a kamikaze unit, but that's not working out. And I'm in a position where if I charge him, I could fail pretty easily, and he could charge me pretty easily because of the movement difference. So I try to use my Witches as an opportunity maker. I put them at an angle so that if he charges, he exposes his flank to these guys. Executioners in the side, I hope will turn this game into, turn this battle into my favor. It's a long shot because it is a Death Star unit. But yeah, if they hit and they overrun, I can hit him in the flank with these guys. If he hits and reforms, he'll probably get charged in the rear by a horde of spearmen that have that Cauldron of Blood behind them. So trying to create some opportunities here. So this is what it looks like from up top. Yeah, the only problem I have here is I did not deploy my rear guard from my front lines far enough. I deployed them too close together in the beginning, so there's not enough space, and it allows him to hit the Witches and overrun into what's going to end up being the Executioners, because they're only 5 inches away compared to, I think, what ends up being 8 inches from the Spearmen when you take account the angle. And then here I use the Cauldron of Blood as the centerpiece of the Spearmen unit. They turn into a horde, and then I moved the Cauldron of Blood into it. So they'll get a 6+ in normal save, and they'll be able to reroll wounds, but I kind of forget about that rule. A pretty important one, but I forget about it. And then so far, I also moved my, what do you call them, Shades and Dark Riders over to shoot at some Noblars, just because they're out of position. I'm going to take some shots. My crossbows move to reform and move, but fail the leadership check, so they just reform. And then I hop in the magic phase. You know, in the past, the magic phase has always saved me. I get some buffs off. I milk the magic phase for every spell I can because of the Sacrificial Dagger and Power of Darkness. But it's not meant to be because my opponent has the Hellheart. And yeah, my level 2's in range of the effects. She miscasts, of course, loses 2 power dice, and then a small template kills a bunch of little spearmen. Not all is lost. I'm able to get off a couple spells, but they're not really much to speak of. I put them on my unit that's going to die pretty soon, since they're only going to be able to affect them, because that's their only combat that will probably happen next turn. +1 to hit and the Super Frenzy. So let's hope that they can do something. Shades take their shots. I guess they kill a couple Noblars. I didn't take any shots of the Dark Riders, so I guess they didn't kill anybody. And that ends my turn. Go into his turn. So yeah, he moves his Death Star into my Witches, and he rolls a 10 for the charge. So he's going to do D3 impact hits. So any hope I was holding to do some damage before they died, that's gone. The door is closed, and they're just a speed bump. The Mournfang continues to run, but he doesn't freak out his Noblar buddies. Then the Lead Belchers and Scrap Launcher move forward. Over here, he casts Chain Lightning again at, I don't know, one unit, and it hops all over the place. It hops, kills a little bit here, a little bit there, even kills 2 witches in combat. Yeah. And then he goes to shoot his Lead Belchers, and check this out. That is a ton of shots. He's shooting at my Spearman, and I thought, wow, there goes a ton of my guys. And he killed quite a few, but again, he did not hit or wound that many times. So I got kind of lucky there. So here's the combat. This is after impact hits. He did not roll too hot for that. That's pretty good. I was left with 3 girls. I was against his 2 spellcasters. I thought, okay, well, here's my chance to do some wounds. But I forgot they're immune to poison. So yeah, did nothing. They got stomped. They overran, hit these Executioners, rolled an 11, and is going to do D3 impact hits again. So yeah, that's the end of my turn. We go into, no, that's the end of his turn, and now we go into my turn. Yeah, so here's my turn. He overran like I want him to. Unfortunately, he did that many impact hits, so that's going to be bad. But I'm going to charge him in the flank with my Executioners. And I was hoping to get a flank charge of these Spearmen, but it came up that I probably wasn't all the way in his flank, that his front, I was mostly in his front, so I had to charge him in his front. So I did, and I got, in my magic phase, I got Enchant Blades off on the flank Executioners, and then my Dark Riders charged, and my Shades charged the rear of these Noblars. I'm hoping just to break them. So I do make that charge. We go into combat because my shooting is non-existent. I've already mentioned my spells, only got 1 off. He's able to stop me. And yeah, I do a couple wounds to these Noblars. Combat Resolution has it in my favor, and I run them down. And then, yeah, here's the end of combat between that Death Star and my 3 units. He wiped out that first Executioner unit with impact hits. I did quite a number of wounds with him with my other Executioner unit, but this was a huge unit. They wiped a lot of my Executioners off the board except for 2 of them. Then they broke, the banner died, and the champion drowned. So there's no more of them. And yeah, the Spearmen took a beating. I was just above steadfast because of this cauldron, and I stuck. So yeah, that was the major battle of the game. That pretty much dictated it, but we kept on going. But yeah, after that, there was not much for me to do. Yeah, so we go into his turn. He continues to flee with his Mournfang. His Lead Belchers move up to take some shots at my Dark Riders. He casts some spells. He really only gets off the -1 to hit and leadership. And then he shoots at him. He takes out 2. I break. Then we go into combat, and yeah, he kills me down to my champion and the chariot. He wasn't really targeting my chariot. He was just killing everything else. I'm sure if he would have targeted the chariot, he would have easily killed it too. It was toughness 6. He's strength 6 on most of his stuff. Yep, so he kills him. I break. He overruns, catches him because I run 2 inches, and then he runs 7 and slams it to my bunker's unit. So that's not good. We go into my turn. I don't rally my cavalry, and they run off the table. The Shades shoot at the Mournfang and kill him, so points, yay! The BSB offers a challenge. His Tyrant takes it. I think I do a wound. He kills her. I just did it to do it, I guess. Then he does some more wounds, not enough to break me. He reforms. We go into his turn. He beats the crap out of my unit. He doesn't even bother targeting my characters. I lose a bunch of guys, break. He doesn't catch me, and then we just call the game because it's way past a foregone conclusion at this point. And so you can see I got beat down hard. That was a pretty bad beating. But you know, when things like this happen, there's always a bright side. It's a fun game, and you learn a lot. And with the new book, it's really helpful, I guess, to look back and see how things changed and how I'll have to change, I guess, even though I'm a stubborn person. So the first thing I noticed about the new Dark Elf books is the magic phase, and I think the biggest change is the Dark Elf's reduced ability to control what I like to think of as magic dice management. And you got that through, of course, the old Sacrificial Dagger and the old Power of Darkness. And now those spells and that equipment has changed enough where you can't manipulate that management as well anymore. Beforehand, you could maybe one dice with your level 4, a 5, maybe a 9 cost magic spell, like the Enchanted Blades or Glittering Scales. And then if you didn't roll that 5, you could just kill a dude, throw another dice. And that really elongated, if that's the right word, your magic phase. And then, of course, the Power of Darkness, if anything, that was a way to one dice something and then bleed your opponent's dispel dice. And it still kind of does that, but if you put it on level 2 like I did, you're going to have to roll 2 dice unless you give your level 2 a Sacrificial Dagger. So it's just about maybe repositioning resources if you want to continue to try to manipulate the phase in that way. But I don't want to. And another way, I guess you could give your level 4 dark magic, but again, I'm kind of against it because it's kind of a shooty magic, and I don't want a shooty magic on my level 4. I want something that can augment and hex other things pretty strongly. So yeah, that's gonna have to that's a big change I've noticed. Then another thing, I tried my executioners, as you noticed, in a different role. Instead of having them all blocked up together, I split them up into 2 units, one to guard my right flank and one to guard my BSB. And a bad play on my part on spacing out my units, but I like it because it allows for more flexibility, but I also don't like it because, as you probably noticed in this game, it makes both of those units a little bit more vulnerable to damage, but especially to missiles and shooting. Just taking a one-off shot at either one of those units is really going to reduce their capacity to deal damage. So I might try it a couple more times. Probably the next game I'll just throw them all back together. And that leads me to something else, which is the BSB itself. The Witch Hag, I just do not know what I want to do with her. She's not very resilient. She kind of drags my executioners around to places I don't want her to, and there's really no need for it. Before, again, there used to be a kind of cost-benefit thing going with them, but now there really isn't. So I might throw her in with a unit of witches and maybe in the back like I did with the executioners as you see in this picture. But I might just go ahead and try a noble BSB and put him with the executioners, kind of make him like a executioner BSB. And then finally, of course, there's the Witch Elves. I realize now I'm probably going to have to make them a tiny bit bigger so they can take a little bit of shooting and still be a little bit more combat effective. So yeah, those are just some of my ideas going forward, some things I've learned. I really hope you enjoyed this. Again, like, comment, or subscribe.